Yes, in our last class, we started asset replacement decision. After explanation of the underlying principles, then we had an illustration. So let's have one more illustration to this. Then thereafter, we move to lease and hire purchase. All right. So let me see. Okay. Let's solve this illustration number 2. All right. Please, I need one of you to read for us Kafachan PLC. Okay. Who wants to read? Debbie, please help us.
Bluetooth have been disconnected.
Kafachan PLC is a second-tier listed company that specializes in the business of manufacturing nails of various sizes. Its factory is sited near one of the federal government-owned steel manufacturing companies in the Southwest Axis. It enjoys proximity advantage to the source of its raw materials, which are mainly iron coils from this government parastatal. For several years, the company enjoyed uninterrupted production runs, which enables it to record steady growth in its annual profits. In recent time, the company has been experiencing downturn in its economic activity. The annual profits were declining, and the situation was becoming worrisome to management. The privatization program of the government was the main cause of the adverse shift.
Yeah. Adverse shifts in the profits. Debbie? Debbie, I can't hear you again. Debbie, I can't hear you again. Can you take
in
it
the
again?
profits of the company, because raw materials became the critical
Hello,
operational
Debbie.
as
Take
a
it again
result,
from.
importation of iron coils became the only option to ensure smooth production. This option was faced with many problems, and the company was finding it difficult to arrest its unfavorable situation. The company is planning to diversify and add a new product line as part of its survival strategy. The new product is industrial polish. The raw material, which is wax, is a byproduct of petroleum refining. Achievement of this diversification requires initial investment in the acquisition and installation of a polishing machine. The management is considering a choice from 2 alternative machines for which market survey had been carried out. There are only 2 such machines in the market. Both machines fulfill the same function and have the same capacity. Details of the market survey are as follows. All figures are assumed correct. The company cost of capital is 10%. The company is in a tax-free world. You are required to mention 4 problems which Kafachan PLC is likely to face in the importation of raw materials. B. Advise the management of Kafachan PLC on the machine to purchase.
Thank you very much, Debbie. Without wasting more time, examiner is asking you to mention 4 problems which Kafachan PLC is likely to face in the importation of raw material. So you need to personalize this requirement. Examiner is asking you, put yourself in the position of importer. Okay, you are in your importation business. You want to import raw material from abroad. What are the likely challenges that you may face as a company? So one challenge a company and an importer can face is inadequate funds. If you don't have the sufficient financial resources to purchase the item of raw material from abroad, that's a constraint. That will limit the capacity of the company. Then of course you need to talk about foreign exchange, forex, fluctuation in foreign exchange. You need to talk about price level changes, inflation, all right? You need to talk about inconsistent in government policy. You need to talk about the bureaucratic nature of the ports, okay? And then the documentation requires for clearing at the port. Not only that, you also need to talk about demurrage. When your goods stay longer than necessary in the ports, the company will continue to pay demurrage as long as the item remains at the port. So these are some of the challenges that a company may face in the importation of raw materials. Then number B, you are to advise the management of Kafachan PLC on the machine to purchase. So you want to know which of machine A or B should Kafachan PLC purchase. Now, as you can see, all the stories you have in this question from the first paragraph to the last paragraph, I'm less concerned with that. This is where you have the major work, okay? The data that you need are there in that table. So examiner is asking you to determine, to advise on the machine to purchase. So one thing should cross your mind that you want to buy a machine. That means this should be, you have to calculate annual equivalent cost, all right? Because you can't just calculate NPV and move on, because the useful life of each of the machine are different. The useful life of machine A is for 4 years. The useful life of machine B is 7 years. Therefore, if you calculate only NPV and you stop, that you have not done justice to the question. So what this simply means is that you need to calculate annual equivalent cost, all right, by dividing your NPV with the annuity factor of each of the machines, all right? So without wasting time, let me quickly switch to working notes so that we can complete this and move to the next one. So the name of this company is Kafachan. PLC, let me confirm, is it a PLC or a limited? Kafachan PLC. Okay. So number B. So calculating annual equivalent cost. The reason why we are calculating annual equivalent cost and not annual equivalent value is the fact that the company needs advice on which of the machine to purchase, whether to purchase machine A or machine B. When you want to buy, that's a cost. So you cannot calculate annual equivalent value in this case. So I would then say for machine A, normal NPV, create a column for year, description of items, cash flows, discount factor. I will go back to the question, what is the cost of capital given? The cost of capital is 10%. So here is 10%. Then we have the present value. Figures are given, so we can restrict our number to thousands, or you can just write it out in full like that. Okay, I can say in thousands. Figures in thousands. Year zero. The initial cost of matching A. The initial cost of matching A, according to the question, is 5 million naira. Here is 5 million. Discount factor at year 0 is 1. 5 million. Then I will then go back to the question. What's the useful life of matching A? Matching A has 4 years lifespan. Okay. Therefore, because according to the question, my annual cash running cost is 100,000 naira. So year 1 to year 4 is 100,000 naira per year. So if that is the case, I need to calculate annual equivalent. I need to calculate annuity factor for year 1 to 4. So here is running cost. Running cost is 100,000 naira. Put it in brackets. It's a cost. Then at year 4, we are told that there's a scrap value of salvage value of 500,000 naira. So let's account for that salvage value. Salvage value is the same thing as scrap value. 500,000 is a cash inflow. This should be 0.683. What's your annuity factor of year 1 to 4? At 10%, that should give us 3.170. When you multiply with 100,000, that's 317,000. Then 500,000 multiplied by 0.683. What do you get? That's 342. 342. So finally, give me the NPV. What's the NPV, please? $5,000 plus 317. 5,000 plus 317 minus 342 plus 317 plus 342. 5359. No, something is wrong. 5,000 plus 317 minus 342. 4975. Okay, therefore I need to calculate annual equivalent cost. Because my NPV is negative, I will calculate annual equivalent cost, which is NPV divided by annuity factor. Equal 4975 divided by annuity factor of 3.170 equal. So divide by 3.17 equal to 1569. 1569. So that's for that. Then I will do for matching B. Matching B. Here, description of items, cash flow, discount factor, 10%, present value. Year 0, initial cost of matching B. Go back to the question. The initial cost is 9 million naira and the useful life of matching B is 7 years. So here is 9,000. 9,000. Useful life is 7 years. Running cost. Annual running cost for matching B is 80,000 naira. Scrap value is 700. Here is 80,000 running cost. Here 7 salvage value. Salvage value is 500. Is it 500? Let me confirm. 700,000 is the salvage value. So annuity factor. Why are you guys not giving me numbers now? You are waiting for me to mention your name before you provide numbers. You started again today. Annuity factor year 1 to 7 at 10%. 1.1 raised to power 7 minus equal -1 equal divided by 0.1 equal 4.868. Then discount factor for year 7 at 10%, 1.1 raised to power 7 minus equal 0.5513. Therefore, 80 multiplied by 4.868 equal 389. Here is 389. 700,000 multiplied by 0.513 equal 359. Therefore, my NPV of cost would then be equal to 9,000 plus 389 minus 359 equal 9030. 9030.
90.
So I need to calculate annual equivalent cost, which is 9030 divided by 4.6, 4.8638. 868. Finally, annual equivalent cost for matching B is
1855.
4.68,
1855.
yes, 1855.
1855.
1855. So that represents the annual equivalent cost for matching B. So examiner is asking you to advise which of the machine to purchase. Should the company purchase matching A or matching B? We are going to select any machine with a lower PV of cost, with a lower annual equivalent cost. All right. So I would then say matching A. Matching A produced an annual equivalent cost of 1,569,000. 569,000. Y. Matching B. Generated an annual equivalent cost of 1,855,000 naira. Therefore, matching A with a lower annual equivalent cost should be purchased. So we are done with that. That's end of the question. It's as simple as that. The year I contested this question, it was a compulsory question. But this kind of a question, ICANN cannot give you as a bonus again. If at all ICANN will test this kind of a question, it has to be maybe section number C or B question, but it's not compulsory. All right. So move on from here. So that's it. That's it. So you are going to do illustration number 3 for me as an assignment. Please, I gave you an assignment, and so far none of you have submitted. Okay. Continue with your attitude. The same complaint I have with you is what Asiwaju also has. It's not good enough. This is how I complained last week too. It's like you're purposely doing it, refusing to attempt your assignments, but that notwithstanding, I want you to know that it's for your own good. Whenever you are given an assignment, it's for your own good. But in any case, I have to move on. Yes, I still expect that you will submit the assignments I gave to you on the adjusted present value. You are supposed to submit on Monday, which was 3 days ago, but you did not submit. So I'm giving you another assignment again. Please go and attempt illustration number 3 in this material. AL Limited. Go and attempt the illustration number 3 and submit. Today is Wednesday. Submit to me on Sunday. All right. Submit to me not later than Sunday. This coming Sunday. All right then. So let's move to another area of the under specific investment decision. I will stop sharing this. Okay. So like I said, this is the illustration I want you to solve. So that's that. So let's go to lease and hire purchase. Now, when there are 3 core decision areas in finance, we have investment decision, financing decision, and dividend decision. Under the financing decision is where you have lease and hire purchase. So when a company wants to purchase non-current assets, for example, motor vehicle or plant and equipment, after the appraisal of the project, after the evaluation of the projects, the company, if the asset is financially viable, the company will need to go ahead and purchase the assets. However, management wants to know, how should the asset be financed? Should we borrow and buy the assets outrightly? Should we purchase the asset through lease or through hire purchase? This is what we want to do today. However, in your corporate reporting, you are going to be taught IFRS 16, which has to do with lease. So I will skip all the theoretical part of this. I don't want to be coming here and be telling you what is the lease, what is finance lease, what are the types of lease, what is finance lease, what is operating lease, what are the features of operating lease. No, you have the material. Please go through all of them. We have a lot. The journey is still very far. All right, please go ahead and read about all of this. And the good thing about lease is that it's very practical, right? It's very practical. So I will encourage you, please go ahead and read about the theoretical aspect of this particular topic that we are treating now. Okay, so you need to learn about what is lease, what are the types of lease. There are majorly operating and finance lease. So what do you mean by operating lease? What is finance lease? What are the features of each of them? What are the advantages and disadvantages? What are the other kinds of lease you need to know about? Please go ahead and read them. You have the material here in front of you, and you also have it at your disposal. Please go ahead and read. Then, of course, the hire purchase, the same thing. So go and read about hire purchase in the material. Read about hire purchase and the characteristics of hire purchase, including the advantages and disadvantages. So that is not what I want to do today, because if I begin to be telling you all this theoretical aspect of the topic, we won't leave this. We are not going to complete this topic today. So please go ahead and do justice to the topic by reading through A to Z of the material under specific investment decision. Now, what I want to do today is to start with the most economical method of financing. So like I was trying to tell you the other time, when a company wants to purchase non-current assets, before the asset is being purchased, you need to determine the financial viability of the asset. You want to know whether the asset is worthwhile or financially viable. So once the analysis has been done, once the evaluation has been completed and the asset is financially viable, the next thing you need to do is to determine the method of financing. So management wants to know how the asset should be financed. Should we go through outright acquisition? Should we purchase the asset through lease or hire purchase? So that's what you want to do. So my strategy, the strategy we are going to adopt this period is the fact that I will show you under each method of financing, what are the contents each of them should contain. Once you have those constants, however I can twist the question, you are going to do well once you memorize all those contents. So if that is the case, I will stop sharing this so that I can provide you with relevant, okay, I think I have it in this material too. That will save our time. Now, the first thing first, when you have a question that relates to specific investment decision, or where examiner is asking you to advise on the most economical method of financing the assets, the first thing you are going to do is to determine the financial viability of the asset. Whether you are asked or not, you must determine whether the asset is financially viable by computing the NPV for the assets. Once you have the NPV computed and the asset is financially viable, then you can then go ahead to determine the most economical method of financing the assets. So if that is the case, now, if you want to determine the financial viability of the asset using NPV, all the variables you normally have in computing your NPV will also be there. For example, examiner may give to you that the asset may generate sales, there may be variable costs or incremental fixed costs to be incurred. Okay, once you have your profits, you pay your tax, then you compute tax saved on capital allowance, you have your scrap value, the initial cost of the assets. It is also possible you may have working capital on the assets. So you have your net cash flow. So all those things you normally do in computing your NPV will still be relevant when you want to determine the financial viability of the assets. Okay. Now, after you are done with that, you need to determine the method of financing the assets. If you want to purchase the asset through outright acquisition, under outright acquisition, there are two three basic elements that must be present under outright acquisition. You are going to have the initial cost of the assets. That's number one variable that must be there. Then the second one is tax saved on capital allowance. Then the third one is scrap value. If you have any scrap value, then of course, under lease option, the option to lease the assets, there are majorly two variables that must be present. The first one is annual lease renter, okay? The annual lease installment renter. Then two is the tax saved on the lease renter. This tax saved on the lease renter is just the percentage, you are going to multiply company tax rates on the lease renter. So that will give you tax saved. Yeah, that will give you tax saved on the lease renter. I repeat, to get the tax saved on the lease renter, you need to multiply company tax rates. You multiply it on the lease renter. Okay? You multiply it on the lease renter. So that will give you your tax saved on lease renter. So, and then again, when you want to determine the tax saved on the lease renter, you have to watch out for timing of cash flow. That is when you are going to pay your tax liability, because your tax saved on the lease renter must follow the patterns of your tax liability. If your tax liability is in the current year, then that's very straightforward. Okay, so you are just going to calculate your tax saved from year one to the end of the project, to the end of the machine or the assets. But if tax is paid in arrears, you can't start. In that case, you cannot start from year one. You have to start from year two. Then that means the life of the asset will be extended by 1 more year. Okay, so you have to watch out for that. Then, of course, you only include tax saved on capital allowance when you want to calculate the PV, of course, under lease option. You only include tax saved on capital allowance if the assets is a finance lease. If it's a finance lease, so you only include tax saved on capital allowance if it's a finance lease, because in the statement of financial position, if a finance lease is accounted for as if the company owns the assets, so you have the asset is shown in the balance sheet, is shown in the statement of financial position for a finance lease, and that's why the owner, the lessee, is being seen in substance as the owner of the assets. Of course, in legal term, he is not the owner of the assets. Okay, so but because of the fact that the lessee will use as a finance lease, the lessee is expected to use the economic useful life of the assets. Okay, almost over 90%. So at the end of the second lease period, the amount will be very minimal. In fact, a reasonable third party that may want to lease the asset thereafter will not likely enjoy it, because the most economic useful life of the asset has been used by the lessee. So as a result, you are supposed to account for the tax saved on the capital allowance for the finance lease. But if you are not told in the question whether it's a finance lease or operating lease, you are going to assume it's an operating lease. So that means the tax saved on capital allowance will not be there. You only include tax saved on capital allowance if your examiner told you in the question that it's a finance lease. Other than that, you don't include it. Then, of course, you now go to hire purchase. Under hire purchase, there are 5 elements that will make up the PV of cost under hire purchase option. One is the hire purchase payments. The hire purchase payments include hire purchase deposits, initial deposits, then hire purchase installments. That's hire purchase and lease are very similar. One of the key feature of hire purchase is the fact that the IRR is expected to, the IRE is expected to pay a certain amount as deposits before he or she will take away the assets. All right. So if you want to hire an asset, you need to make a deposit first before you can take the asset away. All right. So that's so this initial deposit will be at year 0, because it's at the beginning of the asset. Before you even take the asset is when you are paying the deposit. Then every year, the IRE is expected to pay to the IRR the hire purchase installments. Okay, hire purchase equal installments. Then 2, the third element that make up that we include in the PV of cost when using hire purchase is tax saved on hire purchase interest. So this tax saved on hire purchase interest, we are supposed to multiply company tax rates on the hire purchase interest. Okay, you multiply company tax rates on hire purchase interest. So that will give you the hire purchase. Then, of course, once you have that done, then you must have already computed your tax saved on capital allowance. Okay, so you compute your tax saved on capital allowance. Then, if there's any scrap value, okay, you also include it. So these are the 5 elements that must be present whenever you want to calculate PV of cost using hire purchase option. So these are all the variables you must consider. All right. Then, okay. So I think that's that. At this point, we need to have then the decision is that examiner wanted to determine the most economical method of financing the asset. Any of the 3 options, be it outright acquisition, hire purchase, or lease. Any of the options that produce the lowest PV of cost is the most economical that should be selected. I repeat, any option that produces the lowest PV of cost will be the most economical method of financing the assets. So that's what you need to do. So let's have illustration to this effect. Okay. Again, we are not going to solve more than 2 illustrations, just to give you a guide. Okay. So let's have different scenarios. Okay. Let's have illustration number 3. Let's have illustration number 3. Prosper, you're welcome. Prosper. Abu, you are welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Believe.
Yes, sir.
How are you today?
I'm good, sir. And you,
Good.
sir?
Yes. Fidelis, please read. Read illustration number 3 for us.
All right, sir. Share PLC decided to install a new milling machine. The machine costs 20,000, and it was estimated that it would have useful life for 5 years, with a trade-in value of 4,000 at the end of 5th year. Additional cash profits from the machine could be 8,000 per annum for 5 years. A decision has now to be taken on the methods of financing the project. 3 methods of finance are being considered. A, purchase the machine for cash, utilizing bank loans facility on which the current rate interest is 14% before tax. B, lease the machine under an agreement which could entail payment of 4,800 at the end of each year for the next 5 years. C, purchase the machine under a hire purchase agreement. This could require an initial deposit of 6,500 and payments of 4,400 per annum at the end of each of the next 5 years. The interest payments of the payments for tax purposes would be 2,100 at the end of, at the end of year 1, and 1,800 and 1,400, 1,700 at each of the years 2, 3, 4, and 5 respectively. The company's weighted average cost of capital is 12% after tax. The rate of corporation tax is 30%. If the machine is purchased, the company will endeavor to claim a written down allowance of 25% of reducing balance per annum. You are required to advise the management on A, whether to acquire the machine, B, the most economic method of financing, C, any other matter which should be considered before finally decide which method of finance should be adopted.
Thank you, Fidelis. That is the question. In the A part, that A requirement is a given, whether you are asked or not. That's the most important thing you need to do. You can't just go ahead and purchase an asset without ascertaining the financial viability of the assets. So here, examiner wants us to advise whether the company should purchase the assets. Therefore, what am I supposed to do? Let me stop sharing this. Now, there's one more thing I need to tell you. When you want to determine under lease versus hire purchase, the cash flow arising from each method of financing should be discounted at the post-tax interest. That is, after-tax cost of borrowing. So you don't use the company's weighted average cost of capital to appraise each of the machine. Rather, you are supposed to use the after-tax cost of borrowing, post-tax interest. So if before tax is given to you, you need to convert it to after-tax cost of borrowing. All right. So quickly, let's go through this question. I will stop sharing this now. So let's solve. Okay. So the name of this company is Chair PLC. Examiner is asking us whether the company should acquire the machine. Therefore, I would then say number A, calculating net present value. Calculating net present value. Because in the question, I have profits, I have trading value, I also have tax saved on capital allowance. So it's important for me to use columnar format to calculate my NPV. Therefore, I will do column for year 0, year 1. Then before that, I need to go back to the question. What's the useful life of the machine? We are told that the machine will last for the next 5 years. Useful life of 5 years, with a trading value of 4,000. So 5 years, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. Then if there's any working, then I will create a column for that. Therefore, figures, let's see, our figures are they in thousands? No. So let's leave it at that. Figures are not big. So I can just say Naira. So calculating NPV, in the question I have profits. Before the company arrive at profits, they've already deducted from sales, the variable costs, the incremental fixed costs, all of that has been deducted before they arrive at profits. Therefore, I will then go back to the question, how much is profits? We are told that additional cash profits from the machine will be 8,000 Naira per annum for 5 years. So here is 8,000, 8,000, 8,000, 8,000, then another 8,000. Then after profits, you need to pay tax. Tax liability. I will go back to the question. What's the company tax rates? According to the question, we are told that the rate of corporation tax is 30%. So here is 30%. Therefore, I will go back to the question, how am I going to pay my tax? Okay. If the machine is purchased, the company will be able to claim a written down allowance of 25% on the reduced balance per annum. So examiner did not tell us how we are going to pay tax, whether tax will be paid in the current year or in arrears. So since examiner is silent, you are going to assume that tax will be paid in the current year. Therefore, 30% of 8,000 will give us 2,400. 2,400. And then 2,400. Then after this, we need to claim capital allowance. Therefore, we need to go and calculate tax saved on capital allowance. So let's go and do our working somewhere. Okay. Method of financing. Let's do our working start from here. Working number 1. Capital tax saved on capital allowance. Okay. Here. Narration. The cost. Then tax saved at 30%. Year 0. Initial cost of the machine is 20,000 naira. In year 1, we are going to claim capital allowance at 25%. So what's 25% of 20,000? That should be 5,000. 5,000 minus 20,000 will give us 15,000 tax written down value. In year 2, we are going to claim annual allowance at 25%. Therefore, what's 25% of 15,000? That's 3,750. The balance is 11,250. Tax written down value at the end of year 2. Year 3, annual allowance at 25%. Therefore,
So 25% of 15,000 is 6,250.
25% of 15,000.
Yes, sir.
That's 3,750. That's 3,750. Okay. So 3,750 minus 15,000. That's 11,250 multiplied by 0.25. So 2813. 2813. Here is 2813. To find the difference. 2813 plus 11,250. What do you get? That's 8437. Here is 8437. So this is written down allowance at the end of year 3. Move to year 4. Annual allowance at 25% of 8437 multiplied by 0.25 equal 2109. Here is 2109. So minus that, 2109 minus 8437 equal 6327. 6328. There is 6328. So this is tax written down value at the end of year 4. Remember, the useful life of the asset is 5 years. So at the final year, which is year 5, I need to compare the sales proceed, scrap value. I need to compare with the tax rated down value. Go back to the question, what's the scrap value of the assets? We are told that 4,000 naira, trading value of 4,000 at the end of year 5. Okay, let's use what the examiner has used, is trading value. $4,000. Therefore, 4,000 minus that will give us 2,328. This represents balancing allowance in year 5. So I need to multiply company tax rates on the capital allowance for each year. Therefore, I will then say 5,000 multiplied by 0.3 equal 1,500. Tax saved in year 1 is 1,500. 3,750 multiplied by 0.3 equal 1,125. Then year 3, 2,813 multiplied by 0.3 equal 844. 2,109 multiplied by 0.3 equal 633. Then finally 2,328 multiplied by 0.3 equal 698. So that represents tax saved on capital allowance. So let's go and put it there. Tax saved here is 1,500. Remember, the essence of capital allowance is to reduce tax liability. 844, 633, 698. Let me confirm. Yes, 698. That's working number 1. Then after this, we need to put in the trading value. The trading value is 4,000 in the final year. Then initial cost of the assets, which is 20,000. If you have working capital, you need to include working capital, but we don't have. Therefore, let's find the net cash flow. Please give me the net cash flow. Give me the net cash flow, please. Take it one by one. What's the net cash flow?
1.
Yeah, what?
Year 1, 7,100.
7,100. Prosper, are you there?
Year 2 is 6,725.
6,725.
6,725.
Okay.
6,444.
6,444.
10,298
Which one?
for the last year.
10,298.
298. 6233.
Thank you. 6,233. So we need to discount this discount factor I will then go to the question. What's the company cost of capital? We are told that the company weighted average cost of capital is 12% after tax. So 12%, here is 1. Then 1.12 raised to power 1 minus equal 1.12 raised to power 1 minus
0.83893.
0.893 0.02
0.797.
797.
0.712.
Okay.
0.636.
And then
0.567.
thank you. So we need to get the present value now. Here is 20,000.
Yeah, 5.
Yep.
5839.
5839.
3964. Yeah, 4.
3964.
4588. Yeah, 3.
4588.
5
Then
3
here
6
2.
0.
5360.
60.
Okay. So let's get the NPV. The net present value will then be equal to, what do you have? What's the NPV?
6091.
6091 negative. Thank you, Debbie. Okay. Sorry, it's positive.
It's positive, not negative.
Yeah, it's positive. So examiner is asking us to advise whether to acquire the machine. Since the NPV is positive, then the machine should be acquired. I would then say the machine should be acquired. Considering the positive NPV of 6,081 naira. That's it. So we then move to number B part of the question. You are to advise the most economical method of financing the machine. So what are the methods available? In number A, you are told that 3 methods of finance are being considered. A, purchase the machine for cash, utilizing bank loan facilities on which the current rate of interest is 14% before tax. Therefore, outright acquisition. Number B, method of financing the machine. Option 1, outright acquisition. Outright acquisition simply means borrow to buy. The company will borrow to buy the assets. So under borrow to buy, I told you there are three variables that must be present. One is the initial cost of the assets. Two is the tax saved on capital allowance. Then three is fair value. Therefore, if I like, I can use columnar format. If I like, I can use any one. The three variable is not too much, but let's use the columnar format. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, then here 5. So initial cost is 20,000 naira in year 0. Has saved on capital allowance 1,500 in year 1. 1,125 in year 2. 844 in year 3. 633 in year 4, then 698 in year 5. Then you will have trading value. The trading value is 4,000 at the final year. Therefore, what was the net cash flow? Check. So there is 20,000 negative net cash flow. 15, 1125, 844, 633, 6498. Okay, so I need to discount this using after-tax cost of borrowing. The discount factor at, I don't know, let's go and do the working. Working number 2. After-tax or post-tax interest. So after-tax cost of borrowing is calculated as interest multiplied by 1 minus tax rates. The interest is 14%. Tax rate is 30%. We're accounting for 70%. Therefore, 14 multiplied by 0.7 equal 9.8%. 9.8% is the after-tax cost of borrowing we are going to use to discount the cash flow arising from each method of financing the machine. So 9.8%. Where is 1? So 1.098 raised to power 1 minus 911.
911.
911. What about year 2?
0.829.
829.
0.755.
55.
0.688.
Okay, 688.
0.627.
0.627. Thank you. Then let's get the present value. PV 20,000.
Year 1
Yeah.
is 1367.
So year 1 is
1367.
13.
67.
Okay.
Nine three three.
Which one?
Yet 2.
933. There is 438.
436.
436. Then 6498 multiplied by
4074.
4074. So give me the MPV. Net present value 1367 plus 933 plus 637 plus 436 plus 4074 equal minus 20,000 equal.
12,553.
Take it again.
12553.
1,
Negative
2, 5, 5,
553.
3. Let's try it again. Let's try it again. Okay. Get the MPV again. 98 multiplied by 0.627. Okay. 1367 plus 933 plus 637 plus 436 plus 4074 equal then minus 20,000 equal 12,553. Okay. Negative. Right. Right then. Okay. It's like everybody is you guys are on strike apart from Debbie. All of you are on strike tonight. No problem. One 688 436. Okay. Now that's for outright acquisition. That's for outright acquisition. So let's go for lease. The second part state that lease the machine under an agreement which will entail payment of 4,800 at the end of each year for the next 5 years. So the annual lease rental is 4,800. So option 2. Leasing. So under lease, I don't need to use a columnar format for this one. There are just 2 variables. So I'll create a column for year, description of items. I will have a cash flow, discount factor at 9.8%. Then I will have the present value. So the lease renter, we are told is 4,800 every year to the next 5 years. So year 1 to, what's the useful life? What's the lease period for the next 5 years? Yes. So 1 to 5. So I need to calculate annuity factor year 1 to 5 at 9.8%. What do you get? Annuity factor at 9.8% for year 1 to 5. What do you have? Debbie, you are my partner tonight. Every other person has refused to participate, so let's just go ahead. What's the annuity factor here? 1 to 5 at 9.8%. Yes. Debbie, let me just go ahead. 1.098 raised to power 5 minus equal minus 1 equal divided by 0.098 equal 3.810. 810, then 4,800 multiplied by 3.81 equal 18. Here is 18,288. That's a cost. Then I need to calculate tax saved on the lease renter. So tax saved on lease renter. So you are going to multiply. You are going to multiply company tax rates on the lease renter. So 30% of 4,800. So tax saved.
1440.
1440. 1440. Now, when you now want to calculate your annuity factor, your tax saved on capital allowance must follow the patterns of your tax liability. But in this question, examiner did not tell us when we are going to pay the tax. And that's why we assume that tax will be paid in the current year. Therefore, I will do year 1 to 5. But if you are told that tax is paid in arrears, I can't start from year 1. This will now be year 2 to 6. But again, we are not told otherwise. So we are doing year 1 to 5. So here will be 3.810. I will multiply that with 1440. 1440 multiplied by 3.81 equal 5486. 5486. So the difference will give us the PV of cost. Okay. Minus
12,802.
12,802. Here is 12,802. It's negative. Now, something is strange. Let's go back to this outright acquisition. The outright acquisition, let's go back to it. Let's check the present value, especially in the first year. Let's check the accuracy of those numbers. Okay. From my previous calculation, I think it's around 13,000 something. But again, let's do it again together. So you can be checking, Debbie be checking the discount factor. So let me check the present value. 15 multiplied by 0.911 equal 1367, yes. 1125 multiplied by 0.829 equal 933, yes. 844 multiplied by 0.755 equal, correct. Okay. 633 multiplied by 0.688. Correct. 64. Oh, something is wrong. It's not 6498. This one's supposed to be 4698.
4698.
Yeah. Supposed to be 4698. So 4698.
2946.
Pardon?
2946.
2946. Okay then. So now let's get the PV, the MPV.
Minus
2946.
13,681.
13681. Okay. All right then. So option 3. Option 3 is higher purchase. Let me manage this space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me just manage higher purchase. So higher purchase. Under higher purchase, we are going to have, let's use columnar formats because we have 5 variables. So for year 1, year 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, then year 5. So we have initial deposits, HP deposits. According to the question, how much are we depositing? Purchase the machine under a hire purchase agreement. This will require an initial deposit of 6,500. So here is 6,500. The hire purchase deposit is paid at the beginning. That's year 0. Then HP installments. How much is HP installments? We are told that a payment of 4,400 per annum at the end of each of the next 5 years, 4,400. So 4,400 is a cost. You are paying it. 4,400, 4,400, 4,400, 4,400. Then we need to consider HP interest. Tax paid, tax saved on HP interest. Tax saved on HP interest. So let's go and calculate that. Working number 3. Tax saved on HP interest. So create a column for year. HP interest. Then tax saved at 30%. Year 1, year 2, 3, 4, and 5. Therefore, go back to the question. How much is the interest? Interest parts of the payment for tax purposes would be 2,100 at the end of year 1. 2,100. 1,800. 1,400. 700. 1,400. 1,000, then 700. 1,000. So what's 30% of 2,100? 2,100. 2,100 multiplied by 0.3 equal 630. Yes, for year 2,
540,
540,
420.
year 420. Okay, so 630 that's saved. 630 followed by 540, 540, 420. 540, 420, 300, 210. Then we have that saved on capital allowance. Which is 15,844,633. Sorry, that's the mix up there. 11,25844,633,698. Then there's also scrap value, trading value. Of 4,000. So let's find the net cash flow. Here is 65. So I will do for year 3. Debbie, let's do it together. 44,
Year 1 is minus 2270.
22,
70.
70.
Minus 2735. Year 2.
2735. 2735 minus
3136.
3136. 3136. Pardon?
34367.
67 minus. I didn't leave sufficient space.
$508 positive.
508 positive. So let us discount. This is net cash flow. Let's discount at 9.8%. Here is 1. We have it up there, 0.911. 0.911, 0.829, 829,
755.
0.755,
0.688.
88, 0.5,
0.627.
627. So let's get the present value. There is 65.
$2068.
Which one?
Year 1.
Year 1 is 2068.
2267.
Coming. 2385. You said 22.
Two
2
two
to
six
what?
seven.
6
6
7.
7.
Okay.
2368.
2 3 6
8.
8.
319.
31946. Therefore, the net present value will then be equal to, so what do you have? 6,500 plus 2068 plus 2267 plus 2368 plus
15,269.
2385. Pardon?
15,269.
Okay. 15269, correct. So NPV is 15269 negative. That's thank you, Debbie. So we are done with the 3 methods of financing. The first one was outright acquisition, and we got negative NPV of 13,681. Option 2, lease. We got 12,802. Then option number 3 is hire purchase, and we got 15,269. So you are going to select any option with the lowest PV of cost. Therefore, the machine should be leased. I will then say the machine. If you like, you can bring out the summary of your results. But because of time, I don't need to do that. I will just say the machine should be leased, considering the lowest PV of cost of 12,802 Naira relative to PV of cost under outright acquisition and hire purchase. That's that. So let me know if you have any question for me so that we can have additional illustration. All right. So in the absence of no additional additional question, let's have one more illustration on this, and so that in our next class, we move to capital rationing. All right. So I'll stop sharing this now. Prosper, Fidelis. Okay. So let's have illustration number 1. This is a different scenario. Prosper, please, if you are available, read for us. Prosper. Abu, are you there?
I'm here, sir.
Please read.
Okay, sir. Illustration 1. Punch On PLC is the business of manufacturing plastic products. The firm plans to diversify into another business line. It has the option of either buying or leasing additional machines to enable it to meet the desired expansion. The machine can be acquired for 3.5 million and is expected to have 5 years useful life with an estimation of 500,000 salvage value. This acquisition will be financed by a 22% bank loan, which is repayable in equal annual installments over a period of 5 years. This installment payment comprises of both interest and repayments of principal and is payable at the end of each year. Alternatively, the machine can be leased for years with annual lease payments of 1 million payable at the end of each year. You are required to A, advise management of Punchon PLC on the option to choose. Support your answers with relevant calculation. B, assuming borrowing plan is adopted, produce a repayment schedule preparable in tabular form.
Thank you, Fidelis. Now, examiner is asking you to advise Punchon PLC on the option to choose whether the machine should be purchased outrightly or the machine should be leased. When you look at this question, the examiner did not produce did not proceed tax rates. So that means tax will not impact our cash flow. Therefore, you ignore tax. So if that is the case, there's no need for you to calculate tax saved on capital allowance. So let me quickly stop sharing this so that I can share the working notes. Okay. Illustration number 1. Punchon PLC. The examiner is asking in this illustration number 1 to advise on the option the company should choose in the purchase of the asset, to purchase the assets. So number A, I will say option. Number 1, outright acquisition. Under outright acquisition, there are 3 variables, as you rightly know, because out of these 3 variables, 1 is not available. We don't have tax saved on capital allowance, so there's no need for me to use columnar format. I'll just use the normal one. So I'll create a column for here. Description of item, cash flow, discount factor. I will go back to the question. What's discount factor given to me? Examiner told you that this acquisition will be financed by a 22% bank loan, which is repayable in equal annual installment over the period of 5 years. So the cost of borrowing is 22%. Since I'm not given tax rates, there will be no way for me to calculate after tax cost of borrowing. Therefore, I have to use the 22% like that. Therefore, at 22%, then present value. Our figures, well, the figures given to us, 3.5 million is initial cost. Year 0, initial cost, 3,500,000. 1, 3,500,000. So we don't have tax saved on capital allowance. The useful life of this machine is 5 years. Here is 5 years, so we have scrap value. Did the examiner mention scrap value? And over a period of the installment payment comprises, yes, we are told that it's expected to have 5 years useful life with an estimated 500,000 salvage value. So we have salvage value of 500,000. Therefore, I need to calculate discount factor 1.22 raised to power 5 minus equal 37. 0.370. Let me confirm that. Yes, it is. Then 500,000 multiplied by 0.37 equal 185,000. Therefore, what's the NPV for outright acquisition? That is 3,315,000. Let me confirm that.
Confirmed.
Yeah, that's correct. 3,315. Okay. So it's a cost. If the company wants to purchase the machine outrightly, the PV of cost is 3,315,000. I need to compare it with option 2, which is lease. Option 2, leasing. We want to lease the machine. Again, since there is no tax, that means only one variable will be available because the examiner did not tell me this is a finance lease. So if that is the case, I only need PV, present value of annual lease rental, only one. So I would then say PV of lease rental will be calculated as the annual installments multiplied by annuity factor. So installments multiplied by annuity factor. Go back to the question. How much is annual installment? Alternatively, the machine can be leased for 5 years with annual lease rental payments of 1 million naira payable at the end of each year. So here is 1 million multiplied by annuity factor. I need to calculate the annuity factor at 22%. Therefore, 1.22 raised to power 5. Again, I need to check what's the period of the lease. At the end of each year, can be leased for 5 years also, okay? Period of the lease is 5 years. Therefore, raised to power 5 minus equal minus 1 equal divided by 0.22 equal 2.864.
64.
864. So this will give me 2,864,000 naira. Don't forget, it's in brackets. Okay. Therefore, if you don't want to do it this way, you can also do the table. You are going to get the same thing. That is, put it in a table. You create a column for year because it's only one line item. That's why I did not do table. It's a waste of time to be doing that. Discount factor at 22%. The present value. Year 1 to 5. Lease renter. 1 million naira. Discount factor is 2.864. This will give me 2,864,000 brackets. So there's no tax rate in the question. Therefore, there's no need for us to calculate tax saved on lease renter. So if that is the case, I'll just find this is 2,864. NPV. That's it. You can either do it this way or do it like this. You get the same thing. So after this, we need to advise because the examiner is asking you to advise the management of concern on the option to choose. So lease is cheaper. Therefore, the machine should be leased. The machine should be leased considering the lower PV of cost of 2,864,000 naira relative to outright acquisition with a PV of cost of 3,315,000 naira. That's it. So quickly, let's do the number B parts. In the B part, you have to assume borrowing plan is adopted. Produce a repayment schedule preferably in tabular form. So examiner is asking you to prepare loan amortization schedule. Mathematics of finance is no more in your syllabus. So that's why we have not been taught this. So whenever you want to produce loan amortization schedule, there are about, okay, because of time, let me just, number B, loan repayments schedule. The loan repayment schedule is just a kind of a schedule that will show the sum of a particular amount that will be paid on a yearly basis, just like a sinking fund, okay? Just like a sinking fund. So every year we are going to, okay, let me just give you the formats. Can create a column for a year. Then we have opening balance. Then we have interest payments at 22%. We have annual installments. Then we have principal repayments. Then we have closing balance. So this is the format for amortization schedule. Now, say this is A, this is B, this is C, this is D, then this is E. Your E is calculated as A plus B minus C. A plus B minus C. Then D is calculated as C minus B. All right. Now, for the loan repayment schedule, like I said, it's just a sum of money that will be kept until you are able to pay, until you are able to cover the entire loan amount, including the interest payments, such that at the end of the period, you are going to recover the entire amount. So by the end of year 5, you could have been able to recover or to pay the entire 3.5 million naira, as in this case, plus the interest. So what this simply means is that at the end of year 5, the balance must be equal to 0. So if the balance is not equal to 0, then it may be due to rounding error. However, your rounding error should not be less than 1 digit. I mean, should not be more than 1 digit. If it is more than 1 digit, then you need to check the accuracy of what you have done. It may well be that you have made a mistake or committed error somewhere. So you need to trace back what you have done. So now, year 1, year 2, 3, 4, then year 5. Opening balance is 3.5 million. That's the amount of the loan. So I will then get 22% of 3.5 million. That should be 770, 3.5 multiplied by 0.22. That's 770,000. Debbie, are we still together?
Correct, sir.
All right, then. So let's calculate annual installments. To get the annual installments, you have working down there, not working. So to get the annual installments, you want to know how much are you going to set aside every year for you to be able to recover the loan amount. So to do this, the annual installment is calculated as the loan payments, as the loan divided by annuity factor. Loan divided by annuity factor equal to 3.5 million divided by the annuity factor. Please, when you want to calculate your annuity factor, you don't need to restrict. You have to write the entire amount in order to minimize your rounding error. Therefore, your annuity factor, which is, okay, let me do it somewhere here. Annuity factor, which is equal to 1 minus 1.22 raised to power minus 5 divided by 0.22. So this will give us, we say 1.22 raised to power 5 minus equal minus 1 equal divided by 0.22 equal. So here is what? 2.863 639 762. 1, 2, 3, 762. Please confirm from your side. Debbie, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then. So I will then come here 2.863 639 762. So this will give me 3.5 million divided by 2.863 639 762 equal 1,222,221. 1,222,221. So that's annual installment. So I will then come here 1,222,221. 1,222,221. 222,221. 222,1. 222,221. Therefore, to get the principal repayments, so C minus B, so 1,222,221 minus 770 equal to 452,221. Here is 452,221. That's principal repayments, because the installment you paid in the first year is 1 million. Out of this 1,222,221, you minus interest. So part of the principal of 3.5 million. So you have paid 452,221. Therefore, what is the closing balance? To get the closing balance, you are going to add together the loan amounts plus the interest, then minus the installments. So what do you have there? 3,500,000 minus plus,
304.
pardon?
3047,779.
3047
779.
779. Okay. So the closing balance in the first year will become opening balance in the second year, in the following year. So 3047,779 multiplied by 0.22. What do you get?
670511.
670511. Okay. Then minus 1222221. What do you get? Principal repayments. Yes.
55
55
1710.
Okay. So you can also say the closing balance minus principal repayments. So you're still going to get the same thing. You can also say A minus D. Either you do or you say A minus D. You should get the same thing.
24,96069.
Say 24.
96.
0.
06.
I couldn't get that.
069.
069. Okay. So 24,96069. What's 22% of that?
549135.
54.
9135.
135. Okay. Then principal repayments.
673086.
673086.
6.
Okay. Then A minus D. A minus D.
1822983.
1822983. Right, thank you. 1822983. Multiply by 0.22.
401056.
056. C minus B.
821165.
821165. A minus D.
1001818.
1001818. 1001818. Multiply by 0.22.
220 400.
400. Then C minus B. Yeah.
100 1821.
1821. So final answer,
-3.
-3. So like I said, this -3 is supposed to be equal to 0 because at the end of the final year, we would have repaid the loan amount. But because of rounding error, that's why we have that 3 naira there. So examiner is asking you to to produce a repayment schedule, preferably in tabular form. So when you have to present a repayment schedule, it's just your loan amortization schedule. And that's what we have done so far. All right. So that's end of the question. So in case you are asked next time to prepare loan amortization schedule or loan repayment schedule, this is simply what the examiner wants you to do. All right. That's it. And that's end of the question. So this will be the end of specific investment decision. Okay. So in our next class, we are going to be having a new topic. Either we do capital rationing or I introduce you to portfolio theory. So let me know if you have any question for me before we close the class. Remember, you have an assignment that I gave. So you have to solve illustration number under asset replacement, illustration number 3. Then another illustration now. Go and solve illustration number 4 in this material. Let me share the material with you. So you have 2 illustrations for me. Illustration number 3 under asset replacements. Then illustration number 4. This illustration number 4. That's an assignment 2. Assignment number 2 under specific investment decision. So this is very straightforward. Examiner just wants you to calculate payback period and net present value. Then number B, you are supposed to advise on the method of financing the machine. That's all. So the reason why I give it to you because it has to do with mutually exclusive assets, matching A and matching B. So go ahead and solve that. Make sure you submit the 2 not later than this coming Sunday by the grace of God. So once again, do you have any question for me, please?
No, sir.
All right. So in the absence of no other question, I want to say good night to every one of you. We are going to meet again by the grace of God next time when we shall be having a brand new topic. Thank you guys for your time and understanding. See you next time by the grace of